Hey, all of you, especially the Lies and Grey 17 fans who are joining us for this special pre-Thanksgiving episode of our podcast. Kevin, Justin, and I have been friends of Star Trek for many years, and in this episode, we're going to be talking Deep Space Nine, Next Generation, Voyager, Enterprise, and more. So obviously, there's going to be some spoilers. And if you're watching along with Deep Space Nine for the first time and don't want to hear any of these spoilers, we invite you to go ahead and click out of this episode and join us next week when we jump back into our rewatch of Deep Space Nine with Shadowplay. Otherwise, welcome to this special episode of Especially the Lies and Grey 17.
There's a bigger issue here. Just because a group of people belong to the Federation, it does not mean that they are saints. The trouble is Earth. On Earth, there is no poverty, no crime, no war. You look out the window of Starfleet headquarters and you see paradise. Well, it's easy to be a saint in paradise. Out there, all the problems haven't been solved yet. Out there are no saints, just people. Angry, scared, determined people who are going to do whatever it takes to survive.
What I want to know is, out of all the stories you told me, which ones were true and which ones weren't?
My dear doctor, they're all true.
Even the lies.
Especially the lies.
On behalf of the Bajoran government
And the Promenade Merchants Association.
I officially welcome you to Deep Space Nine.
Welcome back, everybody, to Especially the Lies, a Deep Space Nine podcast, and a special crossover with Grey 17, a Babylon 5 podcast. Because, you know, these two shows have never had anything in common whatsoever. There's never been any controversy about this. So why not introduce these two universes for the first time, right? I am Blake, and with me are two members from Grey 17 who we've brought over for a special episode to talk all things Star Trek. We have Kevin, who was known affectionately as Captain Spoiler, which is why we don't have any of our newbies with us this evening. And Justin. How's it going, guys?
Heyo.
Hey, how's it going?
So for those listeners wondering why we don't have a regular episode, in the United States, and I have to qualify that because I was looking at our stats and saw just how many people we have that listen to this that are not in the United States. The day we are releasing this is the day before Thanksgiving. So most people are dealing with their family arriving, getting absolutely shit-faced because their family are arriving, or panicking because the turkey is not thawed out yet. So we decided rather than doing a regular episode of the podcast, we would go ahead and do a little bit of a special episode and have the three of us talk a little bit about our thoughts on DS9. We watched this show when it premiered originally, so we have been around this one for a while. Justin, want to share kind of what some of your first thoughts were when DS9 premiered, or what your thoughts were on this series?
Well, I mean, honestly, when first aired, I was really skeptical about it. Just coming off of, or I guess this show would have premiered when Next Generation was winding down.
Mm-hmm.
So being a big fan of Next Generation and then watching this show, I was a little bit skeptical on it. But as it got into seasons 3, 4, and 5, I really grew to love it. Especially the whole Dominion War was a part that absolutely fascinated me.
Yeah, because this show actually came out, I believe TNG was still in season 6 when this show came out.
Yeah.
With the show, we're in season 2 right now. We're getting towards the tail end of season 2.
Okay.
And that is coinciding with TNG season 7. We actually have our newbies watching a couple episodes out of TNG because we've got Maquis Part 1 and 2 coming up. So we actually asked our newbies to go back and watch a couple episodes from season 7, one being Preemptive Strike, which is Ro Laren and the Maquis, but the other is we asked them to watch Journey's End, which, for the record, no, we did not have them watch Journey's End because it's such a thrilling Wesley Crusher episode. We wanted them to watch it for the plot around the removal of Federation citizens, especially the allegory for them being native citizens from the neutral zone. So we've got our newbies checking those episodes out.
That's cool, because it's one thing I guess maybe gave me a sour tone when I first was watching it the night that it aired. but really I grew to respect about it was the way Cisco treated, and maybe rightfully so, but the way Cisco treated Picard in that premiere. Being a big fan of Next Generation, how dare you, clutching my pearls, go after Captain
Hmm.
Picard? But then you realize he wasn't in the wrong for doing it. So he had valid reasons for hating Picard, and a lot of people, I'm sure, did around the Federation. But yeah, you guys are about to get to the really good juicy bits coming up here before too long.
Yeah, you've already seen The Circle, and that's real good. But the two Maquis episodes from I think it's the end of season 2, isn't it?
It's towards the end of season 2. Season 2 ends with the Jim Hadar and then goes into the Search Part 1.
Okay, that's
Oh, the
So the
Gem
start of season
Hadar.
3. So
yeah. The Maquis, the two episodes of the Maquis are extremely good. I liked DS9 from the beginning, and there were things that I could have picked out, like what you're talking about, Justin, because Picard's my favorite captain, but they made Cisco a sympathetic character from the jump and made him a strong leader right away. And I just really liked the cast in particular and the writing. I always really liked Bear and Pillar doing Deep Space Nine, but it was a really interesting concept. And I don't want to get into the whole Babylon 5 Deep Space Nine controversy, but it was a unique show in and of itself. And I always really enjoyed it, but I did think it got better once they unveiled the Defiant and were able to go other places without having to take just a little runabout and really explore the Gamma Quadrant a little bit and get into a lot of different storylines with that incredible ensemble cast they had without really focusing too much on one individual character over too many others.
and I have to agree. I also really liked this one from the start. And I also agree with Justin. The initial encounter between Cisco and Picard kind of caught you off guard with that. You weren't used to seeing that, especially in Star Trek, because at that time there was still the Roddenberry rule of you didn't have conflict amongst humans.
Mm-hmm.
And you had just this anger that was projected at Picard. And you're right, they did make Cisco a sympathetic character. They showed the loss. And I have to be honest, I just completed a rewatch of Star Trek Picard season 3. And as much as I like the character of Captain Shaw, when he has that moment in the holodeck and he just lays into Picard about what he was doing at Wolf 359, to me that scene did not have the same emotional impact coming from Shaw,
Totally agree.
because Shaw was
Oh,
just being a
100%.
dick in that episode.
Shaw was
Yeah.
a dick.
Shaw, and he was a dipshit from Chicago.
Yeah, this is why I don't like the Shaw character, and I know I'm in the minority, but I thought the writing in that scene in particular, in that episode, really fell flat for me. And as much as I like the actor, and I know the cast pretty much universally likes him and totally respect that, but I do not care for the Shaw character. It did not land with.
You know I have to say it just for old time's sake in honor of our friend Scott. You are welcome to be wrong.
I am a lifetime connoisseur of minority opinions, and I don't have any problem with that. But no, not among my favorite characters of Star Trek, certainly.
I mean, Shaw was a dick, but he was a lovable dick at the end. He kind of had a bit of nobility to him towards the end of his run on there. So yeah, I couldn't stand him at first. You're not supposed to, but by the end of his run on Picard, I was like, okay, I can kind of see why he's a dick. He's still a dick, but a little bit of a sympathetic dick. And
Yeah.
but I agree, it's yeah, it doesn't have the impact that Cisco's encounter with Picard does. It almost makes you wonder. This could have been the only two times in Picard's life that he got rolled on the carpet for that. So I'm kind of curious to see if there's any extended universe examples out there of people treating Picard poorly because of his involvement in Wolf.
It wouldn't surprise me. Yeah, that scene in the first episode of Deep Space Nine with the first encounter is so well acted by the two of them. I mean, you just see Patrick Stewart's face just fall when he realizes the gravity of the encounter and the gravity of the loss on the part of, and he probably didn't even fully know the full extent of his loss, but just the acting by both of them in that moment, and the acting in the scene on the Saratoga by Avery Brooks is also amazing. I mean, just the incredible anguish in his voice, that it's always stood with me. Just how gut-wrenching that scene is on the Saratoga.
Well, that's one of the things we've talked about as far as the acting in this show is you have a phenomenal cast. You have Avery Brooks, you have Renee Auberjonois, you have Armin Shimmerman. We kind of compared actually Armin Shimmerman and Renee Auberjonois a little bit to Peter Jurusik and Andreas Katsulas. Just you put those two in a scene and they can just run with it. But you talk about the acting with Avery Brooks, and one of the criticisms our newbies have had a little bit through season 1 and even into parts of season 2 is how flat the character of Cisco can be and just how lifeless the character can be. Now, we've had a couple standout episodes, Second Sight being one that was a Cisco-centric episode. We also had Paradise, where some people really started to see into Cisco. And what those of us who have watched the show have told them is they're intentionally making Cisco not be the offensive black captain, basically. They're writing Cisco because they don't want Cisco to be Hawk. They don't want the Spencer for Hire character and the Hawk character that Avery Brooks played. They were trying very hard to make Cisco a character that would not offend anybody. And you've got, as you two know, you've got the change coming. It's not just the Defiant, but when they let Cisco get the goatee and shave his head, it's like a light switch flips in this show with that character.
Well, and you probably talked about it with them, but they purposely did not want him to do that because they didn't want him to look like the Hawk character. And then finally, after 3 seasons, they relented.
Well, we've not really told him why or that that's coming. We've just told him that there is a change coming.
Okay.
And we've also not really told him that that's related into they more or less changed showrunners after season 3 and handed it over to Ira Stephen Bear at that point, who had, I think, a much better grasp of what this show could be, frankly, than what Michael Piller did.
Oh, okay.
Michael Piller's running first few seasons.
Okay. I mean,
he was good for Next Gen. I don't think he was as good for what this was.
All right. I mean, I certainly would never criticize Bear at all with what he did, but I've always been a Michael Piller fan, too. And I think there are some really good elements of the first 3 seasons. But that being said, I think there are much stronger storylines for the rest of the series.
And you look at some of the stronger episodes and look at the writing credits and who's in the writer's room.
Yeah.
And it's Ira Stephen Bear's writers.
Yeah.
Because like you mentioned, the Circle trilogy, that is absolutely some of my favorite episodes of this entire series.
Oh, yeah.
Is that trilogy. And I wish I was on the podcast when they discussed those, but unfortunately I was not. I didn't come back until after that with everything. But those are 3 of my all-time favorite episodes.
Yeah. Well, and the Maquis episodes are incredibly good. So I look forward to hearing what you all have to say about those, because I've always been a huge fan of, and I'll have to look up his name, but the gentleman that played his friend.
Oh, Cal Hudson's character.
Yeah, Cal Hudson's character. Yeah.
Are you Googling or?
I am, yeah.
Oh, good. You're beating me to it.
Bernie Casey. Bernie Casey.
Isn't it so nice we can Google on these when we don't have
know.
movies around?
The first time I ever remember seeing Bernie Casey was he was playing Felix Leiter in the otherwise craptacular Never Say Never Again Bond, not Bond movie. But it's certainly not his fault that movie kind of sucks. And he's done some other stuff that I've seen him in that I can't think of right off the top of my head, but he's a fantastic actor. And that character really was the core of that 2-parter, of course, with Cisco being the other part of it. And so I look forward to hearing what you all have to say about those, because those are really a lot of those 2 episodes.
Well, and if you think about it, though, the way that you're mentioning like Cisco's change and stuff like that, when I was originally watching the show, to me, it made perfect sense. Like, okay, they go through the uniform change along when you have the release of First Contact, when they kind of flip-flop the uniform colors. Then you have a new kind of Cisco and a lot more stronger and confident Cisco, because if you think about the time frame, they're in the early parts of a major war, and he has to step up and he has to become a leader. He has to become a military leader. And so, yeah, he could be somewhat flat as a facility administrator, but when he becomes a true and honest captain, that's when you really start to see the character take off.
Mhm.
And that's when you really start to see Cisco become his own and even you know, he starts fulfilling his prophecy. He starts becoming the person that he was meant to be in the very first episode of the series. And that's where, to me, it's going to be a change for them, but I think it's going to be a welcome change.
Yeah.
The kicker I'm going to throw at you, they don't actually change the uniforms until like mid-season 6.
Really? I thought it was
First
earlier
Contact
than
did
that.
not come out until mid-season 6.
Okay.
They
I
changed
thought
the
it
comm
was,
badges at Generations, so they'll change
yeah.
comm badges around the end of season 3, start of season 4. But yeah, it was season
Oh
6
shit,
before
you're
they
right,
changed.
because I was a junior in high school. What
Yeah,
were you? Yeah, what
because
Kevin? We were
Worf
juniors
joins
in
at the
high school
start of
when that
season
came out.
4, which is after Star
Sure.
Trek Generations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So another basically 2 years to crank out First Contact. Yeah, it was season 6.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah, when he makes a change to captain, they bring in the Defiant. That
Yeah.
that's a big change, and then
Mhm.
certainly bringing in Worf is a big change too.
Which
Not
honestly, no, go ahead, Kevin. Sorry.
not everyone liked the addition of Worf to that series, especially early on. I remember there was some fan blowback for that for no really good reason at all. And Michael Dorn is universally liked by pretty much everybody, and as is I think most or all of the TNG cast. And it's always so intriguing to me that a guy would sign up who had just gotten through doing 7 years of sitting in a makeup chair for umpteen hours before and after filming, and then he signs up to do it for a bunch more years. That's crazy to me. He must have really loved working on Star Trek and playing that character, because he sure was good at it.
I will say though, and again, for anybody watching or listening to this, we have no shits to give about spoilers on this one. We don't have our newbies with us. We've told them not to watch this, and we knew this was going to be kind of a broad discussion. So don't come at us with the spoilers. We know. But I would actually say that Worf in DS9 was developed more as a character in the seasons he was on DS9
Oh, for sure.
than what he was on Next
100%.
Gen.
Oh yeah.
They
No,
did so much more with character.
they didn't do a lot of character development with a few of the characters on TNG. They certainly did a bunch with Data. They certainly
Mhm.
did enough with Picard, but then it really falls off after that, and they don't do a lot of character development until pretty late in the series.
Yeah.
They start deciding that they're actually not going to be the same people that they started with.
hmm
But you get very robust character development throughout Deep Space Nine, which really starts to set the series apart, because even a series like Voyager, for instance, that one, it was kind of more TNG, where they didn't do character development with everybody, and to a
Harry
certain
Kim.
extent, yeah, and to a certain extent, they
Harry
didn't
who?
do it until late in the series. So apparently that's a Berman Braga thing, perhaps, but certainly not a Bear thing, obviously.
Everybody's favorite perpetual ensign.
Yeah, certainly not Garrett Wang's fault.
I'm just saying, over the course of a 7-season show, you've got a character that goes from being a convict to a lieutenant, busted back to ensign, re-promoted to a lieutenant, gets married, and has a kid while the guy at the back of the fucking bridge is still a goddamn ensign in the final episode. It's like, seriously.
Yeah.
He's like the Rodney Dangerfield. He can't get no respect. But no, going back to Worf, that's one thing I was wanting to say was yeah, I mean, you're right. What show are we talking about? Next Generation was not really built to be a huge character development type vehicle, whereas I think DS9 gave them the opportunity to deal with characters and situations in a lot different way than TNG did. So, like, I liked Worf throughout TNG, but I didn't grow to love the character until he was on DS9, and when you really got to see, because it was all in Next Generation, he was like, "Oh, I'm Klingon, but I'm human. You know, I was raised by humans. What do I do?" Whereas you really get to see a more conscientious being there in DS9 than you got to see before, and especially when him and Jadzia get married and that the turmoil following her loss,
Hmm.
and it's really a beautiful story arc for him. Like he, if I had to make a comparison, God, it's hard to find a Babylon 5 character that I would compare Worf to, but almost in some ways, God, it's been how long has it been since we filmed an episode? And I can't remember the security guy's name. Garibaldi.
Yeah, Garibaldi.
Kind of like a little bit of a that kind of character is what Worf was, except he wasn't on the sauce all the time.
Yeah, that could have been interesting. A drunk Klingon.
Oh, I think they got
Just
drunk
like
enough
all
in
the
that
rest of
series.
them.
Yes.
Just like,
We've actually got coming up, Blood Oath is going to be one of the next couple episodes we
oh,
record.
that's such a good one.
So we've recorded Playing God, which is the Trill Initiate who comes to be trained. Next one we will actually record on the show is Profit and Loss, and then Blood Oath. So we've got that coming up.
So you've got a good Ferengi one, and then a really good Worf episode coming up, or a very good Klingon episode.
Klingon episode, yeah. And then we're at Maquis 1 and 2. The Wire is one I'm looking forward to with Bashir and Garrick.
Yep. Yeah, when they actually get to the point where Garrick says in the series, especially the lies, everyone's going to lose their shit. But of course, they have no idea what that means right now, which is great.
Nope.
Blood Oath has Michael Ansara, William Campbell, John Colicos. Like, I love that episode a lot because I've been a John Colicos fan since I was a little kid watching Battlestar Galactica, and my dad knew who John Colicos was from other stuff even before that. So, and of course, Michael Ansara, he was on Buck Rogers, so I knew him from there. Man,
what characters did they play in that episode?
Kang is Michael Ansara.
Yeah.
And Kor is John Colicos. And Koloth is William Campbell. William Campbell in the original series was the Squire of Gotham. So he's been around Star Trek for a long time.
For a minute.
Not in a lot of different parts, but certainly had a couple of extremely memorable guest star appearances. I've always really liked the Squire of Gothos episode of the original series, even though it's campy now.
It's all campy now.
Yeah. It's definitely the 60s.
Yeah, even TNG is pretty campy in some parts now too.
Especially seasons 1 and 2.
Oh yeah. God! So you mentioned the original series. We've actually got crossover as another episode coming up. We're going to have our newbies watch Mirror Mirror, and we'll actually be releasing that on New Year's Eve as a special Retro Trek episode of Especially the Lies with our newbies' reactions to 1960s Star Trek. So that'll be interesting.
Yes.
Just I don't even have to be on the podcast. Just let me join on the Zoom link and just be on mute and just sit there and just sit there with popcorn and watch faces melt.
I'll just mute myself and watch.
Yes. I just want to watch. This is going to be great. Because Mirror Mirror is such a fantastic episode anyway.
And we're going to have them watch more in the future because I know for a fact we're going to have them watch Trouble with Tribbles at some point.
Oh, yeah, you definitely have to. Yeah,
we're going to have them watch that.
I'm still a fan of just letting him watch those episodes with absolutely no context and just having them go, what the fuck is this? Who the fuck is this person? Wait, why is Earth bad?
So I got to throw this out here just because we had this conversation with Scott when him and I first started talking about Especially the Lies and how we were going to do that. And that was going to be Scott's approach, was just throw him in and have him watch them.
Oh, really?
Well, guess what? That son of a bitch died and left me in charge, so I'm doing it my way. And I'm showing him TOS episodes.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, no,
Needless to say, just so you two know, we've had a little dark humor with our group, especially as we've went through trying to get access to all of the podcast, all of the social media accounts. We still don't have access to the fucking Twitter. We have no goddamn clue how he set that up. It's not under the email, the phone number, like nothing. We have no.
You're not missing anything these days.
So we have a new Twitter account because we just finally gave up. But it took us 2.5 months just to get into the Apple account. And even then, we didn't know we were getting this show. We thought we were going to have to put everything on the old show because that's the one we knew we could access. And then they finally came back and said, oh, okay, you have that one here. You can have this one too. Yeah, it's been a journey.
Oh, I wouldn't honestly. I would not expect anything less than dark humor. That is what Scott would have wanted.
Oh,
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
Because I already decided if I ever do join you guys for an actual regular episode, I'll be like, "Hey, long time no talk. What I miss?"
You know, I have to agree with you, Blake. I don't think throwing them in without the context works very well. They've got to understand the before to
Mhm.
really get the depth of what they're going to be watching and how it fits into the lexicon.
Well, and I even have them watching into some TNG because with Maquis Part 1 and 2 coming up, I've actually got them watching Journey's End and Preemptive Strike from TNG just to kind of get some of the framing and context around the Cardassian demilitarized zone, the whole concepts
You
that are
should have
coming.
them watch Ensign Rowe.
That's what I was going to
one
say.
of my
because
all-time favorite episodes of TNG. The Wounded is exceptional too.
We actually talked about The Wounded because we just got done with one of the O'Brien Must Suffer episodes.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
And not that there's not a lot of those. It's where he got replaced by a replicant.
Yeah, I
Kind of
remember
fought his
that.
way out of the station, and we were having a discussion through that. And we brought up The Wounded and that he was actually supposed to sing the Little Minstrel Boy song as a throwback, but they screwed up in production and had the wrong runabout name on screen because they couldn't keep the runabout name straight. So they scrapped the scene, but there were there were supposed to be some callbacks. So we did tell them about The Wounded and encourage them because some of them were wondering, how does the engineer have all these combat skills and how can he fight? And we're like, go back and watch The Wounded.
Yeah.
So we've sent him there. I didn't have him watch Ensign Rowe yet for a reason. I want him to see Ro Laren in Preemptive Strike.
Okay.
And the reason is that's when we're going to drop on him that Ro Laren was originally supposed to be Kira in this show.
Yeah.
And then
gotcha.
I'll tell him if you want to get more in depth, go watch Ensign Rowe at that point.
If you want to see her backstory, go watch Ensign Rowe.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you can really get the depth of that character from just those 2 episodes. She's in a few more, but it really doesn't do a lot with character development other than having a little tryst with Riker when they're both amnesiacs.
Well, let's face it,
Hashtag.
Riker would have boned anything.
And Riker knew what he was doing. Come on. It is.
They were
it
both
is-
at amnesiacs. Hashtag conundrum.
Okay, that's the story.
And
We'll
Tasha
get
Yar was
into
a
it.
data entry specialist.
Oh no.
And Jordy was just a blind kid from St. Jude's. Okay.
Oh man.
Well, and if it goes over having our folks watch these episodes, because for the 2 TNG ones, I've actually asked them to either do, I've given them some questions and asked them to do written response to those questions.
You're making them do homework?
I am. I am.
Wow.
Hey, they wanted me to come back and run this shit. It's their own damn fault. So I've asked them to either respond in writing or record their responses and reactions to those 2 episodes. And we're actually going to release those on our Patreon account as content. But if those prove popular, we've actually talked about doing more of the Retro Trek episodes, like not a full rewatch of by any means of TNG.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we would get to Code of Honor and everyone would say, fuck this, we're out.
Yeah.
But we're going to watch if these go over. I mean, I could easily see us watching yesterday's Enterprise, definitely best of both worlds, going and watching some of those great episodes.
City on the Edge of Forever.
That'd be one.
Understanding the backstory of Picard would be important. I'm sure Chris knows that stuff, but none of the other newbies probably do if they're not Star Trek fans.
Yeah, I think Christopher's about the only one that's of the newbies that's a Star Trek fan that's seen it. I'm not sure if the other Chris has. I know he's not seen DS9. I'm not sure he's seen any of the others. He may have seen some of the movies.
Yeah, Best of Both Worlds is.
So talking about newbies and watching, so we had this discussion on our last show with our longtime fans, and curious your 2 thought, because some of what our newbies are struggling with, especially Jessi. Jessi is on the struggle bus with this one, and she's going to fucking kill me for saying that. But Jessi is on the struggle bus with the perceived lack of serialization at this point. Now, we have been telling them that I've not told them what they are, because Justin, you of all people know how much we love to gaslight the shit out of people. But we have told them that, is it not serialized or are you not paying attention? Because there are nuggets in the background of these shows that are leading to that at this point. But there's a lot of frustration with Chris, with Jessi, that these shows just aren't serialized, they're not invested because nothing's tying together. And I'm curious, what I kind of raised was when this show came out, B5 was heavily serialized. DS9 is heading there, but there was not a lot of TV contemporary to these two shows that had that kind of serialization.
Correct.
West Wing would get into it, ER would get into it, but really, you look at
Or
how
even West
TV
Wing to a point
was.
really didn't have any serialization going on
Well,
until
and even I
later.
raised that is even the shows that did have it, you could still watch an episode for the most part as a standalone and understand what was going on.
Hmm.
West Wing, I would say more season 6 and 7 is where it really got to the story just continued episode to episode.
Hmm.
But before that, you could watch pretty much any episode. ER is the same way. But you compare TV in the early to mid 90s to what you have now with the streaming, the shorter seasons for one,
Yeah.
but everything, especially in the streaming environment, is serialized. You've got a few shows on networks now that aren't, but by and large, everything is. So, do you think their frustration is the actual lack of serialization, or do you think it's just they've got so used to the nature of what TV is now versus what it was 30 years ago?
It's probably a little bit of both because there just isn't a ton of serialization in the first couple of seasons of DS9, but it certainly increases later in the series, like you said. But TNG really is barely serialized at all, other than they have a couple of follow-ups to the whole Borg stuff, and they keep going back to the Borg stuff here and there. But other than the Borg storyline, it really gets late in that series before they do anything close. And DS9 kind of picks up from there and doesn't do a lot with serialization until later. But I think it's a little bit of both of those, that they're frustrated because it doesn't show a lot and because they're used to a lot more serialization than what it shows.
I agree with Kevin to a point, but I think a lot of it has to be coming off of one, some of these people are coming off of a show that was extremely serialized, and being their first experience to major science fiction is what they're used to. So I think they were probably trying to come in and think that DS9 was going to be something similar to Babylon 5. But also, these are also most of your newbies do not understand kind of the heritage and tradition of Star Trek. Whereas by the time that all of us old fuckers were watching it, we had been watching it since we were kids. So we knew just how Star Trek was. It was episodic. So it didn't bother us. Whereas people like Jessi and Nicole, and that they're coming off of, they're used to the serialization. And yeah, they are probably to a degree just used to the serialization of modern television. Hell, even reality TV shows seem to be serialized for some stupid reason. But I think that at the end of the day, I think once you guys really start hitting the ground running in season 3, I think they'll stop complaining and start liking it a lot more.
They also forget that the beginning of Babylon 5 is less serialized than it is later on, too.
Oh, like the whole first season, pretty much.
Yeah. I mean, he's building a universe.
Yeah, it's all world building. But then once you get into season 2 is when it really starts to hit its stride.
Yeah, and it gets less episodic and more serialized for sure. And I think they're kind of forgetting that a little bit.
And just always remember, almost any show out there, with the exception of Game of Thrones and Battlestar Galactica, the first season's always shit. Once you get through the first season, and then once it starts to kind of get legs underneath it, is when shows can really start to gain a life of their own. So, like I said, once you guys meet the Jem'Hadar, I think they'll really start kind of having a lot more fun with that series.
Yeah.
And you know Jessi and her demure opinions that she doesn't share, and you have to pry out of it.
Oh, you mean,
she's
if
very
I can make
shy about her opinion.
Yeah.
Yes.
What the fuck did I just watch? I don't know what you're talking about.
There's a couple of notable exceptions of even science fiction shows that really do well in the first season, but for the most part, especially in this time frame, that's extremely true. I was trying to decide which of the season premieres of all the Star Trek shows I like the most. And I was having trouble between Caretaker and Broken Bow, Voyager and Enterprise, which one of those two I like better and like the most. And I'm having trouble picking between the two of those, but I did just rewatch Broken Bow, and I like that one a lot.
I will say Broken Bow probably has one of the most accurate depictions of reality in any Star Trek show when the guy in Oklahoma steps out of the house with a gun.
I was going to say I don't have any trouble. It's Broken Bow because honestly, I think that the way that they depict the emergence of humanity into space as being, we don't know what the hell we're doing. We don't know where the hell we're going. The Vulcans piss us off because those fuckers think they know everything. And I think if it were to happen realistically, I think Broken Bow is probably a very realistic depiction of what our first years venturing into space would look like.
Yeah.
I liked Enterprise with the exception of I didn't care for the whole temporal Cold War thing, and I didn't like the Xindi arc. I think if they could have figured out either getting rid of one of those two things.
The temporal Cold War was bullshit, but I didn't hate the Xindi arc.
Maybe I would have liked that better if they took the temporal Cold War element out of it.
It was Enterprise's attempt at serialization where they had that entire season-long story arc, and I don't know, I liked it. It actually gave some very cool storytelling along the way.
Yeah, I liked it too. That series was really having trouble figuring out where it wanted to go, and it has less clunker episodes than Voyager does, less clunker episodes than even TNG does, but there's very few clunker episodes in my opinion of DS9 with some majorly notable exceptions.
Move Along Home?
Yeah, that would be the worst
one.
Yes, sir. That's 1, 2, and 3 of the worst list for sure.
I think Enterprise, though, suffered from the same problem Crusade did. A studio that didn't know how to stay the fuck out of things.
Oh, yeah, for sure. That's exactly.
Oh, you mean UPN?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that series
UPN
just
ruins a lot of shit.
Screams of too much studio involvement, but probably too much Brandon Braga involvement, too.
That's when TNG hit the shit.
Man, I really like Enterprise. I like the cast. I like quite a few of the episodes in the first couple of seasons are incredibly good and not a ton of clunkers. But man, it just never did find its footing. I think that has everything to do with the studio. I agree with you, Blake.
Well, I was watching some stuff with Doug Drexler, and he was commenting on how the original designs of the ship, that the warp engines weren't supposed to have the red and blue the way that they were, but that's what the studio wanted because that's what they had seen in DS9 and TNG was the blue glowing nacelles with the red fronts, that they were wanting to go much more to a teal.
Colors.
The studio just needed to stay out of it. And honestly, I think that some of the issue with season 1 and 2 of DS9 is they're still trying to play by the TNG playbook with the episode of the week to keep the studio happy. And honestly, towards the end of season 3, I think the studio quit giving a shit. And they even more or less said that in the DS9 documentary. The studio kind of quit giving a shit. And they let a creative team take over the show that had an idea of more or less doing Star Trek their own way. And I think that of all the Star Trek series pre the new ones, when we're talking TOS, TNG, Voyager, DS9, Enterprise, I would actually say I think DS9 has held up the best out of all of them as we've moved on from it. It has found a new fan base. It has become incredibly more popular after its original run than it did during. And I just think people generally find this to be a stronger series and are liking this one, and the tone of this one, I think, has made it have a more enduring legacy. Not saying the others are shit. I just think this one has probably held up and had one of the stronger legacies as a series.
I think holding up and finding a fan base afterwards are two different things, really. Because I think Enterprise has held up well, but it's not as good as DS9.
And the original series hasn't held up well, but it still has a very strong fan base.
Right.
And I did a rewatch of Voyager about 3 years ago, and this may be a hot take. I didn't hate it as much as I did the first time. I actually enjoyed it a little bit more, especially I think maybe because at that time I was still playing Star Trek Attack Wing, and I was really heavily the Species 8472 was a big part of that tabletop game.
Hmm.
And I think maybe that's kind of what made endeared it to me a little bit more because you had the Enterprise J in there. You had a lot of just really different things that you've never really seen in another Star Trek series before. So I kind of enjoyed it a little bit more. I'm not saying it's still pristine and perfect by any stretch of the imagination. It has a lot of deep flaws, but I don't hate it as much as I used to.
I would agree with that, but there's some episodes that I just will skip.
Threshold.
But that's true of TNG too.
That's true of any Star Trek series. That's true.
Yeah.
Well, and I will say I had also agreed because I did a rewatch of Voyager early this year, and I will say I liked it better on rewatch. My frustration with Voyager is still it has some phenomenal episodes. Year of Hell 1 and 2.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Phenomenal episodes. There are some really good episodes sprinkled in there.
Mhm.
My biggest issue is the potential that show had, especially coming off DS9 where they showed serialization could work. I think they blew it with the Voyager weekly reset.
Gotcha.
Because,
yeah, I can understand.
I mean, when
that.
they launch the ship and say, oh, we've got so many torpedoes and so many shuttlecraft, and then you look at like the listings they have now of how many shuttlecraft they went through, how many torpedoes they blew up, all of this stuff, and then you watch something more contemporary to it. I know you're both Battlestar Galactica fans, but even through the BSG series, they had the number of humans on the whiteboard and they kept changing it. That show had a continuity. The story moved with it and it had the stakes of what was going on.
Mhm.
I think they could have done that with Voyager,
Yeah.
and that would have made that show probably be
Yeah.
the best of the franchise.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if they had to come up with a way to make new torpedoes, or
Mhm.
if they had make improv repairs to the ship to where by the end of the series it really didn't look like Voyager anymore, but it's what they had to put together in order to survive. Yeah, no, I can see that.
Yeah, continuity definitely is an issue with that show, which is not a problem with DS9. Continuity is something that they're very good with on DS9 for the most part.
It's just the zero stakes reset is what I didn't like.
Yeah, I get that.
So you know where our show's headed. What we've got coming up. Any final thoughts on Deep Space Nine and what our cast can look forward to as we move into the unveiling of the Jem'Hadar, the identity of the founders?
Yeah, the search is really good, and I would look forward to hearing what they have to say about that as well. But I think my favorite of the like season ender cliffhanger is Way of the Warrior. I really have always enjoyed that a lot. So I'm looking forward to, especially Chris's reaction to bringing Worf into the series. I don't know if he probably knows he's coming, perhaps, but maybe he doesn't. I don't know. But him being TNG fan, I think he'll probably really enjoy that. And I think bringing in Worf does bring a different feeling to certain aspects of that show that really put it in a positive direction. And I do like some of the Klingon storylines in that series, and they're about to see one of the best ones coming up with Blood Oath, so that'll be interesting. But to see how Jadzia kind of fits into all the Klingon storylines too, will I think they'll like that.
I really hope they grow to love Bashir as much as I do.
Oh, they hate him right now. They hate
I can
Bashir.
see.
I'm not surprised by that.
Yeah.
Well, and we actually told them, we did disclose to them that when they created the series, as with any show, they have the series Bible, right? And they talked about how for Cisco, for Dax, for all these characters, they had multiple pages of personality notes, psych profile type notes, background information on the character, until you got to Bashir, and it was Julian Bashir, young guy, maybe speaks with an accent depending on casting.
Right.
That was the note.
Wow.
So they're sort of making it up as they go with Bashir in the writing.
So then it was just kind of up to Siddig to kind of come up with the rest of it. That's crazy. Yeah.
I'd be curious about how much of his own personality, probably a lot, had to go into creating that character. But in honor of our dear Jessi and her mispronunciations, if you think you hate Gold Ducket, you're really gonna wait till you meet Wei-Un. And the Breen There's so many races that they are yet to meet that I am thrilled to see what they think.
We have had to have a discussion of Cardassians versus Kardashians. One
Yes.
are galactic assholes, the other are whores on E.
Yes. Yeah, one are galactic assholes, the other have galactic asses. But I'm kind of curious with how some of them are going to start making a lot more DS9 B5 crossover analogies once things like the Federation fighters get introduced.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, these are just Star Furies from Star Trek. And I think the best is yet to come. So
Oh yeah.
if you think about how some of those people really hated the show early on of our Babylon 5 run, I think they're going to have a very similar reaction once you start getting into the throw of the war and once you get to deal with the founders as the main adversary. And then once you how does Odo deal with that revelation that he's one of them? And that'll throw people for a loop. That'll be their sounding of wings moment. And I really hope that you guys get to mess with them a lot on that.
I really think they'll like the series before they get to the war.
Yeah.
But that will really solidify how they feel about it.
I know I brought it up several times, and I'll probably continue to do so if I'm ever invited back again. But I do think, to me, that was the height of DS9. That is what made me enjoy DS9 more than any other part of it.
The problem with inviting you back, Justin, and I'm going to paraphrase from a couple of our listeners, we kind of wish you had suffered some more concussions and forgot that you had ever watched this shit. Because as red string theory as you were with B5, some of the people thinking you and your red string of conspiracy with the Dominion, the founders, God forbid, when we get Section 31,
I know.
We could have so much fun with you and your tinfoil hat and red yarn, but damn it, you've seen all this.
Right.
But you guys know me well enough that I can't think of hardly a name of a single episode. I don't remember the names of half the characters. I think I could probably squeeze in and still add a little bit of fun and maybe some fun unicorn action like I posted on Facebook the other day.
Well, we might have to see what we can do to facilitate.
I hear people miss me, and I miss all of you fuckers too.
The other episode that's coming up that I think they'll really enjoy is Defiant. I think that's season 3. That's an exceptionally good episode, and that brings in the TNG angle too, which is nice.
Yeah, and I'm already planning on that might be our next Retro Trek recording, actually.
Oh, definitely.
There may be some discussions around that.
And then just once you guys get to Worf later on, you'll just have to play a sound clip from First Contact. That's a tough little ship. Little.
Yeah. You wouldn't even necessarily have to show them second chances. You could show them a very Riker-centric episode different than second chances and then just tell them there was a transporter accident and made 2.
No, we're going to make them watch second chances.
Yeah, okay. But I don't know if they get the breadth of the Riker character enough in just that episode. But by then they'll probably have seen enough that they'll understand the character fairly, but not.
I thought I might also show him that season 2 episode with Riker and his dad.
That was the one I was thinking of, Icarus.
Yes.
Yeah, we might watch Icarus just to give him the Riker background, and then watch Second Chance.
Yeah, that's such a good episode.
You really got to give them a window into the dynamic between him and Troy early on, because that's really the crux of Second Chances.
I just don't want to have Jessi fly to Oregon and hurt me.
Oh, that might be inevitable.
Yeah, it really might be. Some of those episodes could be fun with Nicole, who's our resident. Let's ship everybody somewhere.
Well, she can ship Troy and Riker all she wants. It's just going to take a while.
Yeah.
Well, and then, you know what? Let her have fun with coming up with that all on her own. Definitely make sure if she ever mentions that, make sure you really fuck with her on that. Oh my God, those two, can you believe that they would ever get together? Oh my God.
And
then just show them the flip from Insurrection.
Yeah, the wedding scene.
I've never kissed you with a beard before.
Oh, that movie gets shit on. I really like that movie.
It's not a terrible movie.
It's got its good points. Although I'm sure we can all agree Nemesis can burn in the fiery pits of hell.
I will never forgive Stuart Baird for that movie.
Nope.
And
they promised us so much, and they shit on everything.
They should have let Frakes direct that one too.
Yes.
Stuart Baird should never direct anything. His other directorial credit is the follow-up to The Fugitive, which is
What?
also not good. Yeah, there was a...
Exactly. Yeah, U.S. Marshals. I know what you're
Yeah.
talking about.
Yeah.
It's a
He
shit on a
direct-
shingle.
Yeah, he directed that and not good.
It was like, I want to direct. Okay, buddy, here you go. I'm calling it Nemesis.
His editing credits are incredibly good. There's some really good movies in there, but as far as
just
a
don't give him the
director,
director's chair.
Yeah,
Let him
not
edit it.
so much. It's about like giving the director's chair to Shatner, but let's not talk about that movie.
Boy.
Oh, wah, wah.
Okay, gentlemen, I think we have had a lovely discussion here on all things Star Trek, crossing multiple series, even bringing in a few other series and outside the Star Trek universe. As I mentioned, we're going to release this as a special episode the day before Thanksgiving here in the States so that our cast can enjoy that time with family, friends, or their favorite bottle of family coping mechanism. If you all liked this episode and enjoyed having Kevin and Justin back, let us know, and we might try bribing them back for future special episodes or to join us as guests on the main show. Go ahead.
We'll work for beer.
Yeah, they will work for beer. They're cheap. I can send them some Budweiser. It's fine.
I've done it many times.
Budweiser. Ugh.
Well, hey.
We're a
hey,
low-budget
hey.
production here.
In all their defenses, the best beer is free beer.
That's true.
Damn right. And on that note, I have been Blake, and with me has been
Kevin?
And Justin.
And make sure to check out all of the links down below for our social media. We've also got the link to our Patreon account where you can get access to content we're going to be posting there, such as outtakes and reviews of certain classic episodes of TNG and other shows before we release them. And you'll also get access to our Discord server where you can truly figure out just how unhinged and mentally unstable the cast of this show truly is. So until next time, have fun, y'all.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Especially the Lies, a Deep Space Nine podcast. You can find all the places to listen to and watch this podcast by searching for Especially the Lies on your podcast app or on YouTube. We want to hear from you, so join the conversation at Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Be sure to subscribe and leave a review where you are listening to or watching this podcast. Especially the Lies is not affiliated with, and the podcast has not been prepared, approved, or licensed by Paramount or any other owners of the Star Trek copyright. All clips included in this podcast are the intellectual property of the respective copyright holders. They are included here for purposes of review, and no infringement is intended.
Why have you brought me here? Show yourselves. What do you want?
The Cisco has returned to us.
He arrives with questions.
There are always questions.